Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas, and I'm your host as usual. And, well, welcome back to the show. Today's episode 262 of the show, but it's not just any regular episode, especially because we haven't done one since, November 15 was the last time we uploaded. In general, today is the 5th year anniversary of the show. And I know some of you are probably thinking, wait, we've been doing the show for over 5 years now? And I'm like, yeah, it's legitimately 5 years on the dot. January 11th of 2019 is when we started the show. And it's a really weird thing, I'm not gonna lie to you, where this is the 5-year anniversary of doing the show. And to me, it's super weird, I'm not gonna lie to you. But I'm also incredibly grateful as well, because if you guys have noticed, every time we start the show, I'm always thanking you guys for your time, because again, I'm not guaranteed anything. I'm not guaranteed that you guys would come and listen to the show. I'm not owed anything at the end of the day. Like, I'm not obligating you to listen to the show. You guys are actively choosing to come listen to the show. And I guess listen to my commentary when we talk about these things and the technology, the business, or the video game industry, or even like the real talks whenever we do them. It's the fact that you guys seem very engaged when we have these conversations, and you guys feel like, hey, I genuinely bring something that is interesting to the table. And at the end of the day, I greatly appreciate it. Because let's be real, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for y'all. Because let's be real, at the end of the day, if I was just talking to myself in a room on a microphone, I would look like a weirdo. But because I'm doing it for the context of the show, it looks pretty normal. And so this feels weird. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. Yes, we haven't done the show in a while. That's just the objective facts. That's like the elephant in the room at this point, because, hey, this past year, if we are looking at it in retrospective, was a pretty rougher year for the show in terms of uploading, not in terms of the content, because let's be real, guys, there were so many crazy things happening in 2023 when it comes to things in technology space, the video game space, and even just some of the business practices going on, whether it be the massive layoffs happening, whether it be things in the AI department moving up, and all this crazy things happening, especially in technology. When we think about all the new pieces of hardware that came out, and then in terms of video games, like all the new video games that came out and a lot of the controversies and conversations that happened because of those video games, there was a lot going on. There wasn't a lack of content, because let's be real, there really was. There was a ton of it. It was just mainly this shift in I'd say a shift in my personal life that made things a little bit more difficult to do the show, if I'm just being honest with y'all. Because let's be real, what happened this past year for me, it was graduating from college, because that was probably one of the, I'd say, interesting things tied to the show, was the fact that I started it in college. It was basically the little passion project that has eventually blossomed into this thing that we call the show now. And it was just part of my college experience, because I would spend a lot of my college experience just working on the show and then doing my photography stuff. And a lot of it was all mixed together, if that makes sense. It also helped get me some opportunities in the corporate side, because, hey, people saw that, hey, this college kid is doing something different than everybody else. He's not acting like everybody else. He's not he's having his experiences and refining his skills and being able to stay on the pulse in the industry. And for me, that was something that helped out a lot. And at the same time, I also mentioned that the show was basically almost therapy to me, because it was allowing me an avenue to express some of these more deep thoughts about what's going on in the industry, or even like some of these things in the personal life, and just sharing some of those tidbits of wisdom that have been given to me throughout the years as I've grown, as I've matured, because in many ways, you guys have gotten to see me mature in real time as we do the show, because again, it's all documented. You can see the shift from when we did the very beginning to where we are now. A change in tone of the voice, whether it be mindset and how you view things, and how are we trying to be more objective when handling certain topics. It's all documented at the end of the day, because that's the beauty of the internet. If you put something on the internet, it's going to stay there forever. And with all of that said, we look at 2023, and yes, it was a rougher year because college graduation, starting my career, getting used to the work schedule that comes with my new job. And it was kind of hard to do the show. That's full transparency. But that's also not an excuse as well, because, hey, like, this is still part of my everyday routine at the end of the day. And I feel like that's something that we will work towards for this new year, especially because now that we are in the 5-year anniversary of the show, and let's be real, statistically speaking, most people that start a podcast always tend to die off at the 5-year mark. Like, going past the 5-year mark is a miracle, or you're an outlier at that point, because the general statistic is that most people that started podcasts usually fall off at year 5 exactly, or before that. Going past that is an exception to the rule in that sense. And I don't plan on stopping the show anytime soon, because at the end of the day, we have a lot of things to do. There's a lot of things to talk about, and there's just so much, well, to give back in many ways, if you think about it. Because we look at the growth of the show overall, and I have the statistics pulled up here because, well, I haven't pulled up. In the span of these 5 years, we have had over 4,000 total downloads, 4,002 to be exact. In terms of active listeners of the show, we have now increased to 556 concurrently just on Spotify. That's not including other platforms, because I still have to update the metrics a little bit to see where we're at with the other platforms. But just Spotify alone has 556 active listeners every week. And to me, that's like, wow. Like, I genuinely could not imagine being at this point when it comes to doing the show, just because, like I said, I genuinely thought I was just talking to myself, like, hey, maybe some of my friends would hear it here and there, or people that know me would listen to it. But the fact that the show has been listened to, or has been listened by people all over the world in different countries, is kind of crazy. Yes, obviously the audience is predominantly here in America, where people like to listen. But the fact that we've been able to reach other parts of the globe has been, I think, very impactful. And it's just kind of amazing to see how there's something here, if that makes sense. Now, I'm not saying we're going to grow into this like big, like $1 million+ podcast, bro, generating millions of views and everything. No, like at the end of the day, this is just a small podcast that I like doing as to keep my sanity, but at the same time have conversation about some of these topics that I like talking about. And for me, that's what I'm happy with at the end of the day. Like, yeah, we can sit here, we can bring on guests and things like that, but at the end of the day, doing the show is just a fun way to have conversations about these things that I do like talking about, that I like researching, that I like watching every single day. And for that, I'm truly grateful. I'm grateful that you guys have allowed me to have this platform, to have this opportunity to just share and just have those conversations. And yeah, that is one of the goals that we have outlined for this year, which is to incorporate more guests, to start doing those more frequently and getting more people, whether it be bringing Juan back. Hey, maybe even getting Efe on, because, you know, maybe he's got some fun stuff to talk about, or Maybe we can finally land that elusive interview with Mr. Mobile that I've been trying to land for years. And maybe some other new friends and friendly faces that, hey, we can probably see more regularly on the show as well. And this is something that I want to start doing, especially because this year's already off hot. We already have a lot of stuff happening. We have new graphics cards announced. We have new CPUs announced. We have obviously some big video games coming up. We have some developer directs coming up, whether it be from Xbox, Sony, and then Nintendo. We already have news from Nintendo, or currently leaks regarding the next Switch. So far, there's a lot of news already right off the rip, and we're only 11 days into this new year. And it's like, it's crazy to think about it, guys. Like, there's so much going on, and that's not an exaggeration. There's just a lot of stuff going on. And yeah, one of these things that I want to push myself and have you guys hold me accountable is finding that healthy balance of the career and also finding time to do the show, because sometimes I'm just really exhausted and I generally don't do it. And granted, that's not an excuse, because again, you guys are coming back, you guys are listening to the show, and you guys want me to talk about stuff. You guys asked me about it, so that's what we're going to do. I want you guys to hold me accountable to that, so that I can continue to deliver the weekly content, or maybe we can even start bumping up a little bit and maybe 2 per week, maybe even choose another day to add episodes on. And at the same time, another thing I want to also do is finally revamp the intro, finally commission somebody to get a new logo and things like that. Because I'm going to be honest with you guys, that's something I was working on for a while now, was commissioning someone to get a new logo for the show, get a new look, maybe even start working on a new intro and then the outros and things like that. But everything just fell through just because, some people are a little bit flaky. Hey, that's, at the end of the day, that's them, nothing personal. It's just, hey, like, stuff wasn't able to happen. And because of that, we've just been stuck with the same old logo for 5 years. But I think now that we are at the 5-year point, I think it's only fair and reasonable that we do come up with a new logo and a new design, because it's the 5-year anniversary of the show. Nothing should always stay the same. It's not saying that it's not a bad thing. The logo still looks great. I'm grateful for the original logo that we have, because again, it was the logo that defined the show for a long period of time. But now I feel that we should revamp it and create something new that also respects the legacy, if you want to call it that respects where the show is and what it's about. And the same thing with the intros and stuff like that. Like maybe creating a new intro, new dialogue to go with it, new music to go with it. And so that's just something that I'm currently working on, to be honest with you guys, or at least that's the goal that I have for this year, is to finally get a new logo and get the new intro and outro prepared and things like that. I would say another big thing I want to try to do is like push for the Patreon page, to get the Patreon, I guess, revamped and get that to, hey, we can get people supporting the show in some way, whether it be, hey, just becoming a normal backer that's like $1, and then creating new ways to add value to the other tiers, so that way it's just a fun thing to do that people that want to support the show can support in that way. And then for me, one thing that I personally want to do is do more real talks, and maybe even eventually finally get it to where the real talk episodes can become their own show. And so that's something we're currently looking into and seeing how can we manage that, how do we balance that out. And that's what we're looking to do, is how can we get the real talks to eventually become their own show, because I feel like that would be something that I would love to do, is even alternate every week, like do the normal show, then do a real talk, then do the normal show, or even we can save the real talks for more like once a month or things like that. So that's probably something I'll leave in the poll, probably even in this episode, is like leave a poll of like, what would you guys want? Would you want the real talks to be their own show? And if they were to become their own show, do you want them to become a bi-weekly thing where we alternate between the show, or just be a monthly thing and that's just the episode they publish a month? Or hey, if you guys are really wanting to push me, maybe even do them both at the same time, like one on one day, the other one on the other, and it's like, oh boy. But those are just some food for thoughts at the end of the day. Those are just some things that I'm currently thinking about, things that are, on my mind, if I'm being honest with you guys, that I want to see what can we do or what can be accomplished in this time period that we have, which is 2024. But at the end of the day, I want to enjoy this ride with y'all. I want to enjoy these new experiences because, again, it's a new year. I'd say there's endless possibilities of what can be done. That's just the objective facts of the matter. But I hope you guys join me for the ride. But I hope you guys at least enjoyed this 5-year anniversary special, because at the end of the day, this is more of, how would you phrase it? This episode is probably just used as a reflection of where we're at for the past 5 years. Where are we at currently? And then what are we trying to do for the future as we proceed through these hopefully next 5 years and see where we're at. And so I hope you guys join me along for the ride. I hope you guys enjoy the content that is coming this year, especially because 2024 is looking to be a pretty packed year because there's a lot of moving pieces happening in the background. If you guys aren't aware of them, because again, I'm not the only tech news source or business news source or video game. No, like clearly there are other people that are doing this stuff. At the end of the day, I'm just commentary. I just like having conversations about this stuff at the end of the day because I just like having my own thoughts about them. But I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you guys continue to join me for the ride and we continue to grow the show, and let's make 2024 a good one. And then hopefully enjoy some of the new changes that are in the pipeline. But I love you guys to death. I do appreciate your time, your energy, your effort that you guys are taking to download these episodes, to share these episodes, to constantly keep letting me know what you think, even if you don't like my stupid face or not, or my opinions or not. Again, I greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate all y'all. Thank you guys so much for 5 years. Thank you for 5 years of love, support, of downloading, of sharing, of letting me know how you feel. It's all greatly appreciated at the end of the day. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.